Hello, my lovely sunshiners. I just wanted to pop on and talk to you a little bit about empowering change. And this is about the power of self monitoring and making thought records. A lot of times, clients will say to me, my thoughts, I can't get out of my own head. And, my thoughts just make me miserable. My thoughts are always negative. They make me feel anxious and that kind of thing. So this is one of the things I use with being a CBT therapist. This is one of the things that I use to help them, to overcome these thoughts and deal with their anxiety better. It gives them a way of stopping the thought in the tracks. So I thought I'd come on and do a blog post about this and, make it into a video and share it with you guys. So self-awareness is a critical component of mental health and well-being. One effective way to enhance self-awareness is through self-monitoring and through records, tools commonly used in cognitive behavioral therapy. These techniques can help individuals track their thoughts, their emotions, and their behavior patterns and uncover triggers to, that set off the negative emotions or behaviors. So in this blog post, I'll explore how self-monitoring and thought records can empower you to make positive changes in your life. And who doesn't want positive changes in the life? Nobody wants to live under a cloud of anxiety. Nobody wants to be always living in negative Nancy mode, or negative Norman mode. That's not where somebody wants to be. So doing some of these things will help you to move past them. So you're probably wondering what self-monitoring is, and self-monitoring involves you observing and recording your own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors as they occur. This practice helps you to become more aware of your internal experiences and how they're influencing your actions. Self-monitoring can reveal patterns and triggers that you might not notice otherwise, providing valuable insight into your mental and emotional processes. You could put it in notes on your phone. You could, if you wanted to, carry around a little book with you that you can write things down in. And it's just trying to notice them when they occur, when they come up, what that thought was, what triggered it, what emotion was behind it. And then that'll help you to identify these patterns and these triggers. So you're probably wondering why I say that we should use thought records. And I'm a big believer that if you can find a pattern and see what that pattern is and what those triggers are, then you can find a way of stopping them from, occurring and making your life feel really miserable. So thought records are specific types of self-monitoring tools used in CBT to help individuals track their thoughts and evaluate their accuracy. By systematically recording and analysing your thoughts, you can identify cognitive distortions and challenge negative thought patterns. Thought records typically include the following components. So point one would be the situation. Describe the context or event that triggered that thought. What happened? And this is something that I talk to my clients about quite a lot when they say, oh, my anxiety just went whoosh. And I was like, yeah, but what was the thought before that anxiety did the big whoosh? Because it doesn't just appear, something needs to have happened to trigger that emotion within you for your thought patterns to come along. Record the emotion or emotions. You might get a couple of emotions that come up. You might get sadness and anger. You might get frustrated. Different emotions that come up for you. So what did you feel in response to that situation? What was your emotion that was going on at that time? The next thing is, was it an automatic thought? So note the immediate thought that came up to your mind. Is it one that you've had before? And this is a good way when you write it down that you can see that that is a recurring thought that keeps coming up. The next thing that you can look for is evidence for. So list evidence that supports this thought. Is it a true thought? Is it a real thought? What is it that gives you the evidence to say that this is a genuine thought? And then evidence against it. So list evidence that contradicts the automatic thought. Is it one that, although it's reoccurring, is it one that's not really true for you? And then think about alternative thoughts. So develop a more balanced and realistic thought base on this evidence that you've got. So can you change that thought to something else that's a bit more empowering? And then think of the outcome. So reflect on how you feel after challenging that automatic thought, because we all have them. We all have automatic thoughts that just come in, sweep you off your feet, and then it's there implanted, which then sends an emotion, which then gives you a trigger, which then gives you, you know, the feeling of anxiety or stress or overwhelm or whatever it might be. So the benefits to self-monitoring and thought records, they're really good actually, the benefits to them, and they really do help. It increases your self-awareness. You regularly tracking your thoughts and emotions and behaviors enhances your understanding of how they are interconnected. So you can reflect on them and you can look at them and see what's going on for you. You can identify patterns and triggers. So self-monitoring helps you recognize recurring patterns and specific triggers for negative emotions or behaviors. This one I like the most, because sometimes, clients will come and they'll say, "Oh, I just went mad," or it just made me really angry and I snapped just like that. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. But what was the pattern from that? Why does that keep happening? What was you thinking? What was you feeling? Was it a certain word that was said? Was it a certain phrase that was said? Was it the way it was said? Was it because you were in a certain place, or something like that? So you can look for patterns that can help you to, get out of these triggering behaviors. You can challenge cognitive distortions. If I did a video about cognitive distortions, I'll put a link to it somewhere. So if you want to have a look at that, you can do. And, thought records enable you to identify and challenge irrational or unhelpful thoughts, leading to more balanced thinking. We have quite a lot of unhelpful thoughts that come up for us that just serve us absolutely no purpose whatsoever. I just want to share with you some of the thought patterns, the unhelpful thinking patterns that we have, and see if any of them sort of click into place with you. So all of nothing thinking, black and white, there's no grey areas. So do you do that? Overgeneralization, so it's where you could be in a group of people and you make an assumption or a generalized feeling about something or somebody or a situation. Mental filtering, little bits, and then you make the rest of it up. You'll only filter out the bad parts, but you won't filter out any good parts, and then you'll put on the rest of it to be, well, someone might find a good part in it and they'll be like, oh yeah, but this and this happened, so that counteracts the good part. Again, disqualifying the positive, that's another one that we do quite often. So we never look at the positives. Mind reading is another one. So we think that we can all read people's minds and know what they're thinking and feeling, and we can't do that at all. Fortune telling is another one. And although you can go to Blackpool and you can have your palm read and your fortune read and all that kind of stuff. And I'm a great believer in the big woo-woo, but not all people can do that. We use a lot of should statements as well. So I should do this, I should do that, I should be, trying to knock down a brick wall. I should, instead of saying I should, you could use I must, because I must is a more empowering phrase that you could use. So some of them are the unhelpful thinking patterns that we all use at times in our lives that cause these types of behaviors. We can, you know, regulate our emotions, so becoming more aware of what we're thinking and how we're thinking about something can help us to develop a strategy that's more effective. And also doing this gives us the advantage of having enhanced problem solving skills. And again, I've done a video about problem solving, and it's understanding the thought pattern and the underlying problems that can help you develop more effective solutions. So you're probably wondering, well, how do I do it, Cheryl? How do I do it? What do I do? So to start self-monitoring and using thought records, I want you to choose a tracking method. So decide whether you prefer to use a journal or a mobile app or a printed template. And, then you can start to monitor your thoughts and feelings and emotions and all that kind of stuff. And choose a method that you're comfortable with and you can easily access it through the day. I prefer to do it in a book. So I carry around a little book with me. And if something triggers me, then I can fill that in. Again, it doesn't really happen that much with me because I've done such a lot of the inner work, but it still happens because it's just part of us being a human being, and things trigger you. So I always keep a little book with me. And I do have a notes thing on my phone if for whatever reason I haven't got my book with me, and I put it in my notes and then write it in my book when I get home, purely because I prefer to use pen and paper because I think it goes well. Evidence has shown that writing with pen and paper makes it stick in your mind better. So, but it's up to you the way that you do it. And set a regular schedule. So consistency is key. Set aside time each day to record your thoughts and emotions and behaviours. Many people find it helpful to do this in the morning or in the evening. As I said before, I write things down when things happen in the moment, and then at night time, I reflect. So I'll write it all down in my proper journal, write it all down, and then reflect on what that is. Again, it doesn't happen that much for me, but you know, it still gives me the opportunity to reflect on how my emotions have been that day, and also, what my thoughts have been. Because some days I think you can have, negative thoughts just are the predominant thought for that day. And it might be that you're just having a crappy day that day. So don't punish yourself for it if all your thoughts have been dark and deep. Maybe it's you mind, your soul, whatever it might be, is trying to tell you something. So it could be a way of also looking at it to see if your mind is trying to tell you something and if it's something that you need to learn from. I want you to be honest and I want you to be specific. There's no point in you writing down half-assed bits of information because that ain't going to help you at all. I so often see with clients when they first come into our therapy sessions, and they hold so much back. And all right, yeah, they're talking to a stranger that they've never met before and they're trying to put their heart on the table and all that kind of stuff. But then a few weeks down the line and they'll say, well, I've been holding back a little bit. And I try and stress to people, please don't hold back. There's no judgment in our sessions. I'm not going to laugh at you. I'm not going to criticize you. You're in a safe environment. I've got you in this safe environment. I'm virtually holding your hands and you can talk to me and tell me anything you want to tell me. So when your thoughts come up and your emotions come up, I want you to be honest as possible. The more accurate that you are, the more that you can gain meaning from them. And I want you to regularly analyze these entries to identify the patterns and triggers and look for any recurring themes on your thoughts and behaviors. Is it, sometimes, again, I had a client who always got triggered when his girlfriend's mum came round. And he never noticed the pattern until we started doing this work. And then he noticed that it was her that was triggering him, and that it was her that was triggering him, which then caused the arguments between him and his girlfriend. So, there is there is that to it as well, that you can find out what the triggers are. And, then you can challenge the negative thoughts. So use the thought record to format and systematically challenge negative or irrational thoughts and replace them with more balanced and realistic alternatives. They're not set in stone. You don't have to get your chisel out and be chiseling away to try and break free of them. They're just habits that we've formed over time. And, you know, they're there, and some of them are really deeply ingrained, but we can pull them out like a weed, you know, weed the garden of our mind and get rid of these awful, crappy thoughts. I'm not saying that they won't come back at some point, because they do. Like I said, we're all human, but you've got tools available to you that you can handle them better, and they don't sort of take over your day. If you're finding that your thoughts are getting too much for you to handle, your emotions are becoming too much for you to handle, then, you can always email me, message me, give me a ring, whatever, book in for a call, just to see if CBT would be right for you, and, whether we can help with these problems that you've got and to solve them. So I just want to leave you with a practical example of a thought record, so it gives you some idea. So the situation is, I received critical feedback from my boss at work. So that was the situation. You got this critical feedback, and then the emotions kicked in. And the emotions were anxiety, frustration, and sadness. The automatic thought that comes with that is, I'm terrible at my job and I will never improve. The evidence for it, I made several mistakes in this project. The evidence against that thought being true is, I received positive feedback on other projects. My boss mentioned specific areas for improvement, but not overall failure. And an alternative thought could be, I made mistakes in this project, but I've also done well in others. I can learn from this feedback and improve. And the outcome would be, after challenging my automatic thought, I feel more motivated to improve and less anxious about my job performance. So you can see how it works, and how you can make yourself a bit more empowered when you do this with the thoughts that come up for you. So although self-monitoring and thought record keeping can sound like a big task, it doesn't have to be War and Peace. I'm not asking you to write a massive book. It's just writing down little bits of information that you can use and look at and tweak, and try and see patterns of behaviors that you can change. So it's a really good tool to have in your toolbox, because it can make a massive difference to the way that you're thinking and feeling. So self-monitoring and thought records are powerful tools in CBT that can help you gain insight into your thoughts, emotions, and behaviours. By regularly tracking and analysing your internal experiences, you can identify patterns, uncover triggers, and challenge negative thinking. This practice not only enhances self-awareness, but also empowers you to make positive changes and improve your mental health. Start incorporating self-monitoring and thought records into your daily routine, and take the first step towards greater self-understanding and emotional well-being. Don't look at this as it's going to be a big, massive task. Maybe just do it with one thought a day that comes up, and then, or think of, write down some of the thoughts that you have on a regular basis, and then start challenging that one thought every day. So have a go with that and see how you get on. And like I said before, if you have any problems, or you're suffering to a point where you really can't control it, then give me a ring or drop me a message or send me an email, whatever it might be, and I'll get back in touch with you and see if I can be of some assistance. So thank you for listening, and I shall see you all again soon. Bye for now.